enjoy favorites like the bigger, better breakfast.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program's participants and do not necessarily reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
All right. What's going on, everybody? A very happy Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate you being a part of the program. And we have a lot to get to today. We have a lot to go over today. We have a lot to talk about today. We have some great guests lined up for you today as well. And a lot of breaking news today on Pushing the Limits that we're certainly going to be talking about. Republicans have been going after Mike Johnson for this spending bill. It is interesting that Republicans all of a sudden care about fiscal responsibility when Donald Trump got us all in $8.2 trillion in debt in 4 years. So we'll definitely get to that. We'll be talking about Mike Johnson a little bit later on in the program. Oh, yeah, Matt Gaetz. Some bad news for you Matt Gaetz Butthead fans out there. Unfortunately, Matt Gaetz, it appears as though this report is going to go public, the Ethics Committee report. Going to go public, could be as early as Friday, and trust me, when that report is public, we will certainly share that with you. We'll be talking about that a little bit later in the program. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, a far-right MAGA Republican, staunch Donald Trump supporter, and a popular podcaster, Mark Naughtom is going to be joining us on the show at the bottom of the hour. Oh, I know things are going to get fiery, and it's going to be a good, highly spirited debate. You're not going to want to miss it, and I wouldn't want to have it any other way, by the way. So that's going to be coming up at the bottom of the hour. But, I wanted to start off the show today, and I would like to start off the show by saying, this is kind of lighthearted, but really it's not. Because Donald Trump has tapped Herschel Walker for ambassador to the Bahamas. That's right. Herschel Walker is going to representing us as Americans. He said Herschel has spent decades serving as the ambassador to our nation's youth and our men and women in the military and athletes at home and abroad. Walker, of course, would still need to be confirmed by the Senate to assume the role. Now, keep in mind that this is a guy who can't even put two sentences together. And remember, all these Republicans out there that were complaining about Joe Biden in the bunker. He fumbles his words. He's got gaffes every day. Herschel Walker literally might be the dumbest person I've ever been forced to listen to in my life. And trust me, I get a lot of MAGA callers to this show, and that's saying something. Not to mention that 5 women who said they had romantic relationships with the former Republican Senate candidate Herschel Walker have all said that he's unfit for office. There are people that have claimed that women, that he was violent against them. This is also the same man who lied about being an FBI agent. He lied about being a police officer. He lied about graduating from the University of Georgia. And he also lied about how many kids he has, and he lied about paying for his ex-girlfriend's abortion. This is a guy who's perfect, right, to be hired by Donald Trump. Remember this moment in the debate when Herschel Walker was attempting to be your next senator, and he whipped out, no, not what you think. He whipped out a badge, a fake badge, by the way. This man thinks he's a police officer. This was very bizarre, one of the most bizarre moments in any political debate. Have a listen to this.
Herschel Walker, this is the badge I flashed at the debate, and this is my sheriff, Sheriff Rowland.
Yes. If Herschel's badge is a prop, then I guess this badge I wear every day to protect the citizen, I guess it's a prop also. But these are real badges, and I gave this to my friend for all he's done for this country and this county.
Now, he did that in a debate as well. He actually posted this video recently where he's showing that same badge that he showed in that debate, which was very weird. And then he was yelled at because, he's not allowed. You're not allowed to show props during a debate. But this man is mentally deranged. He's ill. I don't know if he's been hit too many times in the head. Maybe AB will be the next person working for Donald Trump. I don't know. But Herschel Walker It's really weird. He's got this weird fascination with this badge like he's a child. And here's Herschel Walker giving us a history lesson on apes. Have a listen to this.
Now, I'll tell you something else I heard. Now, think about this, because at one time, science said man came from apes. Did it not? That's when you go to the science.
Every time I read or hear that, I think to myself, you just didn't read the same Bible I did.
Well, this was interesting, though. If that is true, why are there still apes? Think about it.
You know, now you're getting too smart for it.
No. Think about this. We have an evolution that is, we've gotten so intelligent that if that is true, why are there still apes? And then the conception of a baby. Let me tell you, science can't do that. They still trying to do it, but it can't, because there had to be a God.
Have you ever heard anybody speak in a more ignorant fashion than Herschel Walker? Again, this is the moment where he thinks he's a police officer and he continues to show his badge. Have a listen to this.
And now I have to respond to that.
We are moving on,
I have to
gentlemen.
respond to that. And you know what's so funny? I am with many police officers, and at the same time,
Mr. Walker, Mr. Walker, Mr. Walker, Mr. Walker, excuse me, Mr. Walker. Please, out of respect, I need to let you know, Mr. Walker, you are very well aware of the rules tonight.
Yes.
And you have a prop.
Yes.
That is not allowed, sir. Yeah. I ask you to put that prop away.
Well, it's not a prop. This is real. And he said, I have a problem. I never went to law enforcement. It is considered a prop, Mr. Walker. Yes.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
You're very well aware of the rules, aren't you?
Well,
he
brought up the truth. Let's talk about the truth.
Thank you for putting that prop away.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. An 8-year-old would do that. He shows this fake badge. He's never been a police officer before. He's not in the FBI. He can't put two sentences together. Ladies and gentlemen, your next ambassador to the Bahamas representing the United States of America. Oh, and do you want to hear him talk about policy? He's brilliant when he talks about policy. This is Herschel Walker talking about clean air and the only way he can. Have a listen to this.
He really thinks he's a cop.
We, in America, have some of the cleanest air and cleanest water of anybody in the world. So what we do is we're going to put from the Green New Deal millions or billions of dollars cleaning our good air up. So all of a sudden China and India ain't putting nothing in there cleaning that situation up. Right. So all that bad air is still there. But since we don't control the air, our good air decided to float over to China, bad air. So when China gets our good air, their bad air got to move. So it moves over to our good air space.
Good airspace. What is he talking about? Oh, my God. Back in 2005, a woman by the name of Cheryl Parsa, who said she had a 5-year relationship with him, she described an incident where she caught Walker cheating on her with another woman at their condo in Dallas. And when caught, she said she thought Walker was going to beat me up, she said. He allegedly threw out his fist towards her and put his hands on her neck. Parsa and others were interviewed by the Beast, painting a picture of a man who was both unstable, unfaithful, and allegedly using multiple cell phones and enlisting the help of a hotel desk clerk in an effort to keep his affairs straight. He lied about all the children he has. I mean, he's just a horrible guy. And he happens to be a horrible guy who also is very, very stupid, and he can't put two sentences together. And again, it's a prerequisite for Donald Trump, just like it's a prerequisite for Fox News. It almost feels like if you are accused of sexual assault, if you are accused of violence against a female, if you're known for your infidelities, if you're a misogynist, if you abuse alcohol, drugs, whatever the case may be, it's almost like it's a prerequisite for Donald Trump to hire you or appoint you to a very important position. Now, most people would say, hey, Brian, come on. The ambassador to the Bahamas is not an extremely important position. Okay, it's certainly not up there on the list. I would agree with you, but it's still representing the United States of America. Call me crazy, if you will. But I don't want people working in government that have this type of past. Shouldn't matter whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. Listen, I used to like Anthony Weiner, okay? Back in the day before he had all these scandals, I liked his passion. I agreed with his politics. I wouldn't want Anthony Weiner representing the United States of America in government in any fashion because of the things he did. I feel the same way about other Democrats. But why is it that Donald Trump wants these people working for him? Herschel Walker is an embarrassment. He walks around with a fake badge, sounding like he's an officer of the law. An 8-year-old would do that. It's like a 6-year-old that's walking around with his fire truck thinking he's a firefighter. That's who Herschel Walker is. He's like a 6-year-old. Is anybody okay with this? Does anybody think that this was a great appointment? The ambassador to the Bahamas? Are you effing kidding me? Are you kidding me? It makes absolutely no sense to me unless you're Donald Trump. And while all this stuff is going on, and Herschel Walker might be representing all of us, we are learning that the House Ethics Committee has secretly voted earlier this month to release its report into the conduct of former Representative Matt Gaetz before the end of this Congress. This is according to multiple sources. The report now expected to be made public after the House's final day of votes this year as lawmakers leave Washington for the holidays. Now, obviously, this is very bad news for Matt Gaetz. It's also probably not the best news for MAGA Republicans who have been defending this guy. I think this report is going to be extremely damning. Now, Matt Gaetz, also known as Butthead, put out a statement on social media today. He says, quote, "The Biden-Garland DOJ spent years reviewing allegations that I committed various crimes. I was charged with nothing, fully exonerated, not even a campaign finance violation, and the people investigating me hated me." Interesting, isn't it? Could say the same thing about Hillary Clinton, though, couldn't you? 8 investigations into Benghazi. They found nothing. All that wasted money. She scrubbed everything off of her computer, right? She deleted all those emails. They found nothing. The FBI investigated. Everybody investigated. Republicans investigated. They found nothing on Joe Biden. We hear about the Biden crime family constantly. All we know about Hunter Biden is that he broke the law when it came to his taxes and filing his taxes, and he had an illegal gun for 13 days that was unloaded. That's all we know. But how many times did you hear Matt Gaetz and so many other Republicans that are still in office today, by the way, that call Joe Biden and Hunter the Biden crime family? Well, what has Joe Biden been convicted of? What has he been charged with? We know that Donald Trump is a 34-count convicted felon, but you'll never hear somebody like Matt Gaetz, who's been wearing the Donald Trump knee pads for years. You know he crawled to Donald Trump and said, Mr. President, please assign me to the Attorney General position because I don't want this report to become public. Well, it looks like it is. And all those, begging and crying to Donald Trump doesn't seem like it's going to work, is it? Matt Gaetz goes on and he says, then the very witnesses DOJ deemed not credible were assembled by Health Ethics to repeat their claims about any cross-examination of challenge from me or my attorneys. I've had the chance to never confront any accusers. I've never been charged. I've never been sued. Instead, Health Ethics will reportedly post a report online that I have no opportunity to debate or rebut as a former member of the body. Well, you could testify in front of Congress, I guess, right? Under oath. He said, quote, and this is the funny part of this statement. He says, quote, in my single days, I often sent funds to women I dated, even some I never dated but who asked. I dated several of those women for years. I never had sexual contact with someone under 18. So he's basically saying that these women are lying then, right? They're lying. He said, any claim that I have would be destroyed in court, which is why no such claim was ever made in court. Well, why were you showing naked pictures of women on the House floor? Some of your Republican colleagues confirmed the report that you were showing naked pictures of young girls on the House floor claiming that you had had sex with them. So I guess they're all lying. I guess the women are all lying. Everybody's lying, and Matt Gaetz has to be telling the truth. Then he goes, my 30s were an era of working very hard and playing hard too. It's embarrassing, though not criminal, that I probably partied, womanized, drank, and smoked more than I should have earlier in my life. I live a different life now. But at least I didn't vote for CRs that F over the country. Wow, that's a great rebuttal, Matt. Can't wait to see this report. But here's the interesting part about this story. If you claim that you didn't break any laws and you didn't do anything wrong, then why are you so worried about this report? Why are you getting so defensive? Why are there so many of your friends that have done everything in their power to try to make sure that this report was never going to go public if you didn't do anything wrong? I mean, this is basics, right? If you didn't break the law and you know you didn't do anything wrong or illegal or anything that would make you look really bad, then why would you be afraid of this report becoming public? I think we all know the answer to that. Because Matt Gaetz most likely broke the law. Matt Gaetz most likely had sex with an underage girl. Matt Gaetz most likely did some very stupid and bad and awful things that will probably hurt his political future, unless you're a MAGA Republican. Because if you're a MAGA Republican today and you're a liable sexual abuser in a case where the judge characterized it as rape, by the way, let me repeat that because Donald Trump can sue me if he would like to. The judge overseeing his case characterized it as a rape. The jury decided that he was found liable for sexual abuse. And it's funny how all these Republicans will get into the weeds on what rape is and what sexual abuse is. I can only give you my own personal definition. If you're found liable for sexual abuse, I believe personally, in general terms, that sexual abuse in any way, shape, or form is rape. That sexual assault in any way, shape, or form is rape. That's just my own personal opinion. Now, Matt Gaetz, to my knowledge, has not been allegedly accused of rape. Pete Hegseth has. There are a lot of very intelligent, capable attorneys in this country that Donald Trump could have chosen from that happen to be Republicans, and probably a lot of them MAGA supporters. But he chose Matt Gaetz to be his next attorney general. There are millions of people in this country, millions, that have served honorably, that are more qualified than a Pete Hegseth to be the defense secretary. But he chose Pete Hegseth. There are plenty of people in this country that have a lot of experience when it comes to medicine, when it comes to our health. And there are a lot of people in this country that would never behead a whale, put it on their car rooftop, or would stage a bear murder in Central Park, or would say vaccines cause polio. But Donald Trump chose Robert F. Kennedy Jr. There are plenty of people in this country who have served, who have not kissed the tails of Vladimir Putin or Assad. But Donald Trump chose Tulsi Gabbard, who was a Russian asset. These are the types of people that Donald Trump chose to work in his administration, some of which are very powerful positions. Now, I look at the appointment of Marco Rubio, right? And I say to myself, okay, I'm not a Marco Rubio fan. I think he's two-faced. He has no backbone. I don't like him personally. I don't like what he stands for. However, I look at a guy like a Marco Rubio and I say to myself, okay, probably won't embarrass the country. He is a fairly intelligent guy. He does have experience. He is qualified for that position. And it's one of the few where I say, okay, it makes sense even though I don't agree with him. And that's the way things were. George W. Bush, his appointees, for the most part. Okay, you might not like somebody, you might not agree with somebody, but okay, it makes sense. Most of the people that Donald Trump has appointed do make absolutely no sense. All that makes sense is that they will all kiss the ring of Donald Trump. All that makes sense is that they are yes men and yes women that will do and say whatever. Kash Patel, who in my opinion has the least qualifications, okay, because he's been an attorney, he's going to run the FBI. I mean, listen to the crazy things that he said over the course of just the last few years. It's insanity. It's crazy. And the worst thing about so many of these MAGA Republicans is they never retract things when they're wrong. They never retract and apologize. Example. And there's a reason why I'm bringing this up. I'm sure all of you remember when Paul Pelosi was attacked with a hammer. Listen, I am not a Nancy Pelosi fan. I wish she would just get out of office. I think she's one of the main reasons why Democrats lost in this election. I am not a Nancy Pelosi fan. But what happened to her husband, I think hopefully we all could agree, is horrible. Her husband almost died. He was bludgeoned with a hammer. And you had so many MAGA Republicans like Matt Gaetz, Ted Cruz, and others that spread conspiracy theories that it was some sort of gay relationship because they're obsessed with people who are gay and people who are transgender, that Paul Pelosi let this guy in. Ridiculous, just despicable. Instead of an original tweet of, geez, I hope he's okay, my thoughts and prayers, this is terrible, let's get the person that did this, whatever the case may be. No, it's conspiracy theories because people are despicable. And then the police report came out, and we learned this guy was a lunatic who was a very hatred white supremacist who hated Nancy Pelosi. Did they ever say, geez, I'm sorry? Geez, I was wrong. The same thing applies to this shooting. This woman, young girl at the age of 15 named Natalie Ripno Madison. Now, I don't want anybody to apologize to her or her family. She killed innocent people, and then she took her own life. That's not what I am talking about here. What I am talking about is all the right-wingers out there, and so many of them that said that she was transgender. And I don't feel bad for her or her family. This 15-year-old committed horrible crimes and killed innocent people, a teenager and a teacher, and shot 6 other people. It's awful. Where's the apology to the trans community? That you automatically assume and attack the trans community for a shooting when, number one, she's not transgender, and number two, what bearing at all does that have on the shooting? What does it say about some of these Republicans when the first thing that enters their mind is not, oh my gosh, this is horrible, we need to figure out why this happened, we got to do some things and work with Democrats to prevent these types of shootings from happening in the future? No, I didn't hear almost crickets, almost nothing like that. No, what I heard was, oh, it's a transgender shooter. It's a Democrat. It's a liberal. It's really astounding and pathetic. But that's what these Republicans do. And then they'll blame Democrats for making it political. It's funny. I don't hear Democrats making it political after a school shooting. I hear them talking about actual real solutions that could maybe save some lives. That's not making it political. They're begging Republicans to get back to the bargaining table for an assault weapons ban. They're begging Republicans to do something instead of just thoughts and prayers. These shootings are going to continue to happen. The mass shootings are going to, and it doesn't matter whether it happens in Chicago. It doesn't matter whether it's gang violence. It doesn't matter whether it's in a school. They're all tragedies, and they shouldn't be happening. And it's not about making something political. It's about trying to come up with solutions because I would hope, like myself, you care about innocent people dying, and you want the carnage to stop. All right, so we're going to take a quick break. Before I take a quick break, please check out my website, pushingthelimits.live. Subscribe to my YouTube page at PTL Radio Show. On that website, we also sell merchandise on there, shirts, hats, beanies, and, of course, you can make donations at pushingthelimits.live. Check out the official gaming bar of the PTL Radio Show. Of course, I'm talking about Jackson's Bar and Grill. I was out there yesterday, hit a straight flush. What do you know? Hit 2 straight flushes out there yesterday. Machines were good to me yesterday. Check them out, Jackson's Bar and Grill, Flamingo and Jones. You can win up to $500 on a machine of free slot play during a Vegas Golden Nuts. Vegas Golden Nuts? Did I just call them the Vegas Golden Nuts? Interesting. The Vegas Golden Knights Pass the Puck contest where you can win up to $500 in free slot play. Maybe I should come up with a team. The Vegas Golden Nuts. There you go. There we go. Sounds like a Chippendale show that I probably would not want to be a part of. But anyway, check out the Vegas Golden Nuts performing nightly. Maybe we could get Chris Wynn some free tickets to that show. He might be interested in that. I don't know. I'll ask him. But anyway, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, in all seriousness, he is a right-wing podcaster, an independent journalist, a very pro-Trumper. and I'm looking forward to having him on the program. This will be the first time I've done some of his spaces. His name is Mark Naughtom. We're going to get into it. Don't worry. We'll take phone calls coming up next as well. But my interview with Mark Naughtom will be joining us next on the show. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercials, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at RadioYOU101.com.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and food. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
It's time to wake up and win the weekend. You're listening to the boss of the big ball. JP the Cat, giving you that grease. Join me every Saturday and Sunday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific time for the live action on Vegas Scoreboard Express on KSHP 107.1 FM and AM 1400. Dive into the game day with my in-depth analysis, expert predictions, and winning plays from the sharpest minds in sports betting. It's more than just placing bets. It's about securing wins. Head over to jptheticket.com and be sure to tune in to KSHP this weekend from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific time to ride the winning wave with VSX. Tune in and get your money back from the sports book. All money, all sports, no bull. Miss the live show? Subscribe to Vegas Scoreboard Express on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, and wherever you enjoy your favorite podcast and radio listening.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us. The Occupy Democrats Network, the Washington Press Network, the FMAM Dial, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, you name it, we're on it. We appreciate you being a part of what we do. Getting messages from people, don't worry, we'll open up the phone lines here in a little bit. But, you know, I haven't done many spaces in my life. I've done a few here and there. But one of the spaces that I did do, and I've done a few of them actually with this guy, his name is Mark Naughtom. He is an independent journalist, a ground truth reporter for the Kyle Seraphin Show and host of the popular X-based Trump Tuesday, which I did check out for a little bit yesterday, by the way. He's also an 18-year U.S. AF veteran, which I have a lot of respect for, and the current Army officer candidate. Mark Naughtom is joining us right now on the show. Mark, good to have you on for the first time. How you doing, my man?
Doing well, Brian. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it. And knowing that we're probably not going to agree on a lot of things, but still being willing to, you know, come on and have the conversation, I certainly respect and appreciate. And thank you for your service to this country, by the way. All right, I want to get your first reaction to this because I've been having a little fun with it, right? The Herschel Walker pick for ambassador to the Bahamas. With his history, what are your thoughts on this pick?
I think this pick, I would say a little surprising as far as his history, right? His interactions, the badge thing. Yeah, I understand the eyebrow raising, but I think it's consistent with what President Trump is doing with all his picks. So although each pick in and of themselves has plenty to sort of pick apart and identify and raise the concerns, I think the overarching issue, I don't even say issue, but the theme here is that President Trump is picking people based on results he wants and directions he wants to go, and he's not paying as much concern about the optics or their past or their history. I think he's focused with results and moving forward and people who can carry out his agenda. So not terribly surprising other than the fact that he has a history.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying with maybe a theme and direction, but would you agree with me that somebody's history when it comes to alleged sexual assault, when it comes to lying about being an FBI agent, when it comes to lying about how many children you have, when it comes to lying about paying for his ex-girlfriend's abortion, I mean, would you say that that's more than just, well, a checkered past, but those are serious allegations and lies, and maybe you shouldn't be in a powerful position, even if Donald Trump thinks that this man can put him in whatever direction he wants to put him in? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think sort of back to my original idea here is I don't pretend to know the validity of the allegations, all the allegations, to what extent they're true or untrue. I don't know that. And I would also take a gamble and say President Trump may not know either. But when it comes to President Trump, he is a man who has been accused of things over many, many years. Maybe some are true, maybe some are not true. But I think that the theme that he does is he looks at what they've done for him, what they may do for him, and if they're willing to face the scrutiny. And President Trump gives a lot of weight to that. Look at his picks. So, whether or not I'm concerned, I guess the real issue, the important issue is the Senate. This is President Trump's second and final term. And, those people have to be convinced. I don't think President Trump is as concerned about sort of the resume as he was 8 years ago, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's far more. I think we could probably agree on this. There's far more important positions than being the ambassador. That. What are your thoughts on Pete Hegseth? I don't know what your opinions are on Pete Hegseth. I just think if you want to talk about somebody, that has the nuclear codes, right? There's only two people. It would be Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth if he gets this position. Are you comfortable with a guy who some have said that I've worked with Pete Hegseth at Fox News, a man with a drinking problem, a guy who cheated on his first wife with an employee that he worked with, who cheated on his second wife with a Fox News executive, had a baby with her while he was married to his second wife, cheated on his third wife. By the way, he's admitted to this stuff. I mean, is that the type of character that you want as our defense secretary?
I think that, we're not, well, I'll just get right down to business here. That veterans, especially combat veterans, people who have lengthy careers in the military, they have a super high divorce rate. They have challenges with substances. Okay, and I'm not even saying Pete has these things. Okay, but it is extremely prevalent, and these are high performing people who've done high performance, unexpected, sometimes unimaginable, services to this country. So when I hear, a veteran, might have drank or struggled with alcohol, concerning, perhaps, DQing, no, in and of itself, right? These guys go through lengthy processes. Most veterans of any significant time or war are disabled in some capacity. Yeah. And I don't think per se that makes him dangerous, right? I know you talked about the nuclear codes, which would be the big concern, right? Is he dangerous, right? I don't think he's
unqualified.
Dangerous.
I think unqualified would be another word that I would characterize it. Maybe not as dangerous as unqualified, or someone that, makes bad decisions in his life. And I think it is just my opinion. I think if you make a lot of bad decisions in your life, you're probably going to be reckless in the job you're at. And listen, divorce is one thing. Like you brought up divorce, Mark.
Yeah.
I don't attack people, necessarily for getting divorced.
Me neither.
But that's one thing, right? That's personal. That's a different topic. But what I do question is having a child with a coworker at Fox News when you are married and you're a public figure. What I do question is his decision making and the fact that he paid off this woman to keep her quiet. Now he's claiming he's going to get her out of this NDA. She claimed that he raped her. I don't know if that's true or not. He wasn't criminally charged. Fair game there. But there are people like you and millions of people in this country that I have a lot of respect for that have served honorably. I would imagine you probably don't have women in your life that have accused you of rape. And I think there's a lot more people out there that have served this country like you that would be far more qualified and probably better people than somebody like a Pete Hegseth.
Well, thank you, Brian. Thanks for the appreciation. So yes, fortunately, I have nobody making any complaints upon me for it. I hope that never changes. I try to conduct myself like a gentleman, okay, in my life.
Mm-hmm.
But you would know, and I'm not, like I said, you or I, but we both weren't there, okay? Only a couple people were. But, as he climbs the ranks in television and Hollywood and government, he will expose himself to becoming a larger target. Would he not? I mean, you would agree there.
Well, sure. A lot of this
Money,
stuff is
position. It makes him a more lucrative target. That happens, and I'm not even discounting the fact that the claims may have validity. Maybe they don't. But people, as they climb the rank professionally and personally and financially, they do become exposed to that. So, so where I kind of stop is I don't know when it comes to those things. So I have to kind of pause and wait for, credible evidence to make a decision.
Yeah.
However, but if I look at a unique perspective here, is I talk about with Pete Hegseth, people with skin in the game. Okay, he is highly favored amongst people who still serve, people who, although it's not direct command, he has a major influence on policy, military policy, which could affect people's careers and their lives. And he is an Army officer, and to become an Army officer, it is a serious feat, and it's a very special club, right? So, and he ultimately led people on the field of battle multiple times successfully, and so when I look at that and I say people who have skin in this game, who will actually put the uniform on, arm up, and go in the harm's way, he has a lot of support from there. So I think that is something, Brian.
I mean, yeah, I mean, everybody's going to have support from certain people, sure. But there are also a lot of Republicans, as you know, even some that have said on the record that they have a lot of concerns, even Lindsey Graham, with the accusations. But hey, we'll have to wait and see how this plays out. And Matt Gaetz, let's bring him up for a moment here. So we've learned that it appears as though Republicans and Democrats agreed in private, the House committee, to release this report publicly. We also know that Matt Gaetz, Donald Trump, and many hardcore Republicans have been doing everything in their power to make sure this report doesn't become public. It appears as though within a few weeks, this report now is going to be public, and Matt Gaetz put out a very defensive statement on social media today. What do you think this report is going to entail? Do you think the report should become public?
So as the only challenge I have, I'll start with the releasing of it, right? The only challenge I have with that is currently the man is not a member of Congress. So I guess I have sort of privacy concerns about the government and Congress releasing something that they have investigated. Sorry if you hear my cat. I'm going from the door. I'll push him out. He's super loud. Here he goes.
No problem. JD Vance wouldn't approve of you having a cat, Mark. I just want to make that public. I don't know.
Yeah. So sorry. I just
no problem. No problem.
Give me 1 second.
No problem. Go right ahead. I didn't know Mark was a childless cat man. I didn't know that.
I have sorry about that, guys. So sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah, he's something else. He's kind of famous, but okay. So my concern, let me just turn the light back on. My concern would be there we go. How about that? Now I'm in the saddle. All right.
There you go.
Thank you for so my concern with privacy, of course, is is the situation, whereas he's currently a private citizen. So for Congress to release information that they've gathered, which I don't know the procedure to which he can even defend himself in the gathering of that information. So essentially, my concern is it could be sort of a an accusation on steroids where he may or may not have answered any of the information. So there's concern there. What will be in it, I don't know. But if it's how I describe, which is a one-way, something that can't be answered, I'm not expecting it to be anything other than very damning and very devastating for him. And if you look at the context, the way he pulled out of the nomination, that would be suggestive that it's not good for him.
I would say that he definitely pulled out, and I could make a very horrible joke, but I would never do that because I'm a professional radio person, and I would never do that. All right, we'll have to wait and see how this plays out as well. If you're just joining us, his name is Mark Naughtom. He's an independent journalist. I've done some of his spaces before, by the way, with a lot of MAGA supporters in there that have attacked me, but I actually enjoyed it, and I thought it was funny. He's a reporter for the Kyle Sarafin show as well, and he served our country honorably. And that's why I want to get to the next part of this interview, because I try to dissect people that I think are decent people, that are intelligent people that I might just happen to disagree with. And you might be one of those people. You're somebody that served this country honorably. This is the part that I just don't understand, and I need you to help me understand this. A man who attacked John McCain, who said he didn't respect him because he was captured. 5-star generals who claimed he called people like you suckers and losers. A man who dodged the military multiple times. Why? Why would you support somebody like that who has really crapped on our military and even publicly has said some things that I think are atrocious, like the statements he made about John McCain? How is somebody like yourself who served honorably, which I respect, support a man like that? That's the part that I don't understand.
Well, without going quote by quote, right, and context by context, I won't even defend him. I'll just give that up. He said those horrible things. You know, it was so offensive. And people are really taken back from it. And I'm giving you that one, okay, which I don't personally believe. But nonetheless, you have a situation where some people are able to separate that from leadership, okay, from results. They look at the economy. They look at the reduction in wars. They look at, also, like I said, people with skin in the game. He's highly favorable within the military. And maybe some of those times where he said some of those things, he was pushed, he was pressed, especially the John McCain thing. And, we can make excuses for it, or we can simply say there's people that support him regardless of if he makes some offensive statements, because they look at actions. They look at the military does support him. He supports them. And they're not too taken aback by it. Brian.
If he supports the military, then why does it appear like there's going to be major cutbacks in funding for the military? They've been talking about this for the last few weeks. Trump's not even in office yet, and it appears as though there are going to be some major cutbacks. If he supports the military, like you claim, then why would he be okay with this? Why wouldn't he be speaking out against it?
Well, I personally don't know to the exact cutbacks you're talking about. Whether it's overall budget or anything, but I do know.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that. But
okay.
I do know that the government that he's trying to form now is very, very fiscally responsible. So I don't know his financial plans for the military.
Help me understand that. If he's for, and I've heard this from Republicans a lot, they talk about fiscal responsibility. If that's the case, why did he get his $8.2 trillion in debt? Would you say that's the definition of fiscal responsibility? He got us more in debt in 4 years than Obama in 8. And I'm like, I think to myself, how is that fiscally responsible?
Well, on its face, it probably doesn't sound very responsible. Right. I don't know to what level of that is sort of an investment. I don't know to what level of that he expects to see a return. I don't know how much of that is debt that was unavoidable per se with COVID. Okay. So, I'm not an economist. I certainly, can work my own little numbers, but anything above $1 million is hard for me to fathom. So, I can't per se defend numbers like that, but I do ask the question of how much was it necessary, how much was unavoidable, how much of it is worthy to call as an investment.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see.
Okay. So you mentioned leadership. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that because in my opinion, and maybe we have leadership, someone who sets an example for others, right? And when I look at Donald Trump, and again, this is more personal than policy for me, I look at a guy who attacks women on looks, attacking Gold Star
Only
families.
Rosie O'Donnell is the
Yeah. I mean, I know that he made that joke, which at the time was funny, and I'm not a big Rosie O'Donnell fan either, by the way.
Laugh.
Yeah, but here's the difference, right? I love going to comedy shows, right? I live in Las Vegas, Mark, and you know, I love having a good time and joking around. I just don't think a politician, it shouldn't be about a show. And I've been to Donald Trump rallies, as you know, and you know, he's trying to make jokes and taking shots at people. I want to hear about policy. I don't want to hear about Hannibal Lecter. I don't want to hear about electrocuting sharks. I don't want to hear about his nicknames for politicians he doesn't like. I want to hear serious policy stuff. And I don't want to hear lies and promises. You think he's going to end the war in 24 hours? He said that about the war in the Ukraine. It's insane. He talked about lowering inflation for years. He's been talking about,
right? You know, I agree, to make a statement, to make a gamble that serious, you know, if it takes 30 hours, he'll be criticized, right? But I think in reality, we'd probably call that a win, right?
Okay, but Mark, hear me out on this. 2016, I did give him a chance. I didn't vote for him. I also didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. I'm very anti-Donald Trump, as you know, and I'm not a big Hillary Clinton person either, but I did give him a chance. First of all, he said he was going to hire a special prosecutor to go after Hillary Clinton. That was the first thing he ran on. The second thing he ran on is we're going to build a wall and Mexico is going to pay for it. 6% of the wall was built. Mexico did not pay for it. He never shut down the border. He had the authority to do so. And now he's making more false promises. We've seen what he did in his first administration with false promises. Why should we believe him now, Mark?
Well, so I don't know if it's a true 6% of the wall was only built, because a lot of it was replaced. A lot of it was legal wall, as in on paper, but in reality, it was some rickety fence.
But even if that is true, Mexico didn't pay $1 for it.
So President Trump, he is a master of speaking to the people, and some of it is more poetic than literal. He does that, and I'm not making excuses for him. But if he can get Mexico to pay in one way or another, whether it's direct payment and purchase of steel, and maybe companies to put it in, that's probably pretty literal. If it's through tariffs or better trade or something like that, you know, which I don't have that answer, but I don't think it's always a fair criticism to take campaign political speech and apply it literal. I don't think it's always fair. I think
if he says so, if president.
Yeah.
So in a campaign, if a president or you know, incoming president or somebody that's running for office makes promises and they run on those promises and they don't fulfill those promises, you're okay with that? For anybody, Democrat or Republican, when you say you're going to do something and you don't do it, whether it's in your personal life with just everyday people, more importantly, an incoming president of the United States who says he's going to end the war in 24 hours, who says he's going to fix all of the inflation. And then all of a sudden, after he's elected the other day, he says, well, it's going to be harder than I thought. And you know, it might not be so easy to do it. I mean, shouldn't we hold our politicians to a higher level of fulfilling promises than just spewing stuff out there? Like I'm going to hire a special prosecutor to go after Hillary Clinton. He never did that. Mexico never paid for the wall. He's not going to end the Ukraine war in 24 hours. Inflation is not going to drop down because, yeah, I mean, listen, I get what you're saying in that, well, it's poetic and this and that, but I just think the words of any politician should mean something, especially the leader of the free world. And I think he just says things that are crazy and that promises that he will never fulfill. That's all.
I don't know if the word, you know, when you asked if I find it okay, right, to say one thing and not to, I don't think okay is the right word. I would say I may find myself understanding. For example, you know, you say you're going to do something and you get involved in a car crash on the way, right? And you know.
But that's different, Mark. You know that's
well.
Completely,
I mean, it's a metaphor, but he has been. How much did he ask for the wall? Do you recall when he said?
I don't recall how much he asked for.
Okay,
I just recall him saying,
let's say it's 100. Let's say it's 180 million because I really don't recall either.
Yeah.
Let's say it's 180 million. He had so much resistance from Congress for that figure. And the hard part is when you compare it to just how many checks we give other countries and
Right.
we fund Ukraine. When you compare that number,
Yep.
which I may be wrong on the number, but the point is take that number and compare it to numbers that we're spending elsewhere.
Right.
And it brings a little context. And it's almost like, you know, he had a lot of obstruction, which included, unfortunately, which is a good argument for his leadership, against his leadership, he had a lot of problems from within. He had a lot of people in his office and his cabinet.
Well, he said he only hired the best people.
Well,
Whose fault is that?
he has also admitted major mistakes in that arena since then, right? That's why I think this cabinet pick these picks are nothing like they were 8 years ago.
I think I'm going to be honest with you, Mark, and you're going to disagree with me on this. I think they're much, much worse when you have Tulsi Gabbard, who I believe is a Russian asset, who's failed to call out Assad and praises Vladimir Putin. When you have people like Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who staged bear murders in Central Park, who behead whales and think that vaccines cause polio. I don't think he's learned his lesson. I think all he's done is he's made sure that he's hired people or appointed people that are going to be loyal to him that are not good for the country. That's my personal opinion. But you mentioned resistance. I don't necessarily disagree with you. He had some resistance. Every president has resistance from the other side. I don't disagree with you at all. But
here's from his side too.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree with you, Mark. But here's my problem with it. Let's be fair and consistent on this. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris had a lot of resistance when it came to this border wall. MAGA Republicans help, or I shouldn't say border wall, the border deal security, not border wall. And there was give and take. There were MAGA Republicans who helped put this bill together, including Mr. Lankford, who Donald Trump once called the best Republican. He said this, not my words, when it came to border security. They put the bill together, and then all of a sudden, Donald Trump picks up the phone and calls Mike Johnson and other MAGA Republicans and says, don't pass this bill unless it's perfect. So I don't hear a lot of MAGA Republicans saying, boy, that Joe Biden, that Kamala Harris, they had a lot of resistance. Barack Obama had a lot of resistance after the Sandy Hook shooting when he and Joe Biden tried to put comprehensive background checks in place. So I think that the major difference is these aren't faulty, fake promises. Joe Biden and Barack Obama and Kamala Harris and many of the Democrats, and that was going to be my next issue with you, was going to be talking about gun control. They've been talking about this for decades, since you and I were in high school, right, Mark? We're close to the same age. I might be a little older than you. After Columbine, we both agree, Mark. We don't want innocent people to die, right? Of course not. I know you're a good guy. We don't want, most Americans don't want innocent children to die. But why is it after a school shooting, you hear from the far right thoughts and prayers, we need to harden our schools and make our windows stronger and lock our doors? It's the dumbest stuff I've ever heard in my life. I mean, we can disagree on solutions, but that's just absurd. Doesn't it bother you that Republicans fail to pass any gun legislation on the books that could actually do something?
Well, there's a lot there, but I'd say when you say about the windows and the doors, I don't think that's insignificant, and I'll tell you why. Adam Lanza, Newtown, Connecticut, Sandy Hook shooting. Do you know how he got inside the building? It's okay if you don't.
I think he didn't he shoot down a door or something, or a window?
Yeah, essentially, he tugged on the door. It was locked. They tried to speak to him, and he put, I think, 1 or 2 rounds through the glass. It shattered, and he walked in and committed his horrific mass murder.
Correct.
So I don't think physical security is not a solution. I don't think it solves all your problems. Okay, but I don't think that is something to be laughed at. Is talking about physical security of buildings.
Well, okay, so Mark, I hear you.
Yeah.
Here's what I laugh at, and I hear your point there. Here's what I laugh at. After the Uvalde, Texas shooting, an 18-year-old who just shot his grandmother in the face went through the back door of the school. The door happened to be open. And the first thing Ted Cruz starts talking about it, and listen, I make no qualms about Ted. I just think he's an awful human being. He dodged his own state when there was an emergency, went to Cancun. He talked about the back door wasn't locked. And all I'm simply saying is, while I understand your point, yeah, maybe windows could be a little stronger, although I don't know how an AR-15 could stop bullets going through a window unless it's all bulletproof glass. But this young man who was mentally deranged at 18 was able to walk into a store, legally buy a couple of assault weapons and a ton of ammunition. And I just don't hear a lot of solutions from the far right when it comes to this stuff. When from the left, I hear a lot of things that I talk about on this show. I don't represent the left, but comprehensive background checks, red flag laws, raising the age to 18 to 21, mandatory training on how to use a weapon, stronger laws on the books if you're caught with an illegal gun or whether you sell an illegal gun. And why is it the right? I always hear them bragging about their A+ rating from the NRA. I never hear a Democrat bragging about their A+ rating. It's always a Republican. Why have I never seen a Democrat after a school shooting go into the halls of Congress wearing an AR-15 pin? Why is it I don't see Democrats in Christmas photos giving their 3- and 4-year-old children's guns to hold in family photos? I just think there's a sickness in this country, and I can blame both sides for a lot of issues in this country, but not this one. I think the right has failed to produce any real solutions that could save lives in this country, and the left has been pushing them to work with them for decades. Where am I wrong, Mark?
Well, you talk about the sort of the optics of it, your Christmas pictures with your machine guns, right, and wearing the AR-15 pin. And the reason is, Brian, is because those symbols mean something vastly different to the people who are displaying them, to the people who are offended by them. Okay, vastly different. The people with them, it's like, hey, freedom. Your fear is not going to interrupt our Second Amendment. Is not going to interrupt, or threaten our freedom. And I'm showcasing and essentially flaunting, right? But it's a political statement that says your feelings are not going to trump my rights because I value my rights that much.
I hear what you're saying, but I respectfully, I don't think this is about feelings. This is about saving lives. And I think it's beyond repulsive when somebody walks into the chambers in Congress after a school shooting wearing an AR-15 pen. And I hear from the right all the time, Democrats want to take all your guns away. No, they don't. There's not one Democrat in office that wants to take all your guns away and has never had a policy that, at least in my lifetime, that wants to take every gun off the streets and all. No, assault weapons ban. Sure. There's other things that you and I can disagree with, but I just feel like walking into the halls wearing an AR-15 pin and talking about feelings is not going to make the situation any better. It's only going to make it worse and enrage people even further. I want to hear about solutions, and I just don't hear anything from the right. Give me a solution. Give me something that Republicans have done. You're a Republican. Give me something that Republicans have done in the last 20 years that you think saved lives when it comes to gun violence, because I can't think of one thing.
I would say arming more people in schools, right? The right people. Okay, making targets harder and more protected. Okay, I would say that. But look at what the AR-15 pin stuff is doing. Is it's getting us talking, right? If we talk about solutions and everything, with gun violence, many of these crimes. Look at what happened. Look at the assassin in New York, Luigi, right?
Mm-hmm.
He had otherwise, as far as I know, a perfectly clean record, right? He had money. He had everything he needed to go purchase a gun and get one more reliable than he made.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't. Why? Because he actually wanted to survive his crime. Maybe wanted to commit more. That's a theory because he didn't ditch the gun, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the point is, he could have successfully gone through any gun legislation measures that we have and had a better and more reliable gun. But he's a criminal. He chose to commit murder. He had intent, and he was able to do this. So when I think about gun laws, more legislation in an effort to reduce murder, I don't see the trade-off of making more legislation in the hope of getting better results.
All right, so let me ask you this then, Mark. You and I, let's start with where we agree, which I think we will. You agree with me that there's way too many innocent people that are dying from gun violence in this country. Can we agree on that? And it doesn't matter in what state, just way too much, right? Can we agree on that?
I don't know how to measure it, but I don't like it. How about that?
Right. There's a lot of it and we don't want, okay. So my question to you is, if that's the case, which clearly it is based on the statistics, what do we do about it? Do we just raise our hands in the air and say, oh, well, more gun legislation, not going to do any good? Or do we actually do something about it? And if we do, what do? I talk about these issues every day, especially since the shooting the other day, which was tragic. What do we do then? Because do you think that more guns make us safer? Because I hear that argument from a lot of people.
I don't think more guns per se make us safer. I think there's actually enough guns in existence to arm everyone, right? So I don't think numerically that per se makes sense, at least not literally. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. But it's I think Well, I'm sorry. Where were we? I just.
Well, listen, I'm just trying to come up with solutions, and even if I disagree,
Oh yes, I got you. Thank you.
even if I disagree with, that's
I
okay.
got the solution.
Even if I disagree, even if I disagree with someone else's solutions, at least I say to myself, okay, he's coming up with some things that we might not agree on. But I just don't hear a lot of that from right-wing politicians in office today. I just don't. And I'd love to hear yours.
Yeah. So thanks. You got me back on track. I think about guns, semi-automatic, fully automatic guns. They've been out for over 100 years. We've had schools for over 100 years.
Yep.
Okay. We've had students. We've had depression for over 100 years. We've had all the ingredients we've had for these horrible mass murderous events we've had. Okay. So then I asked myself, I said, well, what has changed? And I think it's society.
A lot.
I think it's how we value life, how we deal with our problems, how we deal with any number of social issues.
Right.
I think that's the issue. I don't think restricting freedoms. The guns have been around, Brian.
Musket, but technology, as you know, changes, and a lot of these guns are more capable of firing off more rounds and killing more people in a much shorter period of time than when the Constitution was written, when we had something called muskets. Also, I would say social media doesn't help, and a lot of other things, glorifying violence doesn't help either. Maybe we can talk about Elon Musk about that a little bit. But with that being said, technology changes, right? We had muskets. We didn't have AR-15s when the Constitution was written. So if technology changes, where do we draw the line? Are we saying that, well, we should all have the right to have grenades? Should we all have the right to have armed tankers and dangerous machine guns? Of course, there's already that line, but where do we draw that line? You're someone who served this country. I say weapons of mass destruction. Maybe that's a bad term to use, but we're talking about guns right now. Yeah. We're not talking about Kim Jong-un now, but maybe weapons of war is a better term to use. A lot of these weapons were designed not for self-defense, but to kill as many people as possible in a short period of time. I want people like you that have been on the battlefield to have those weapons. I want law enforcement to have those weapons. Why do people need to have assault weapons to defend themselves? Why do people need assault weapons to hunt? I don't understand why we have these. Listen, God forbid, right? We don't want a crazy lunatic going into a school with any gun, right? But I would rather, if I had to choose, not have someone with an assault weapon and have somebody with a different type of weapon that can't fire off all those rounds of ammunition in a shorter period of time. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah. So there's a couple problems with that. Is these are mechanical devices. Okay. And a semi-automatic can be made fully automatic through changing the physical features inside the weapon. In fact, Matt Platkin, he's the Attorney General of New Jersey, almost a week ago, is suing Glock, the manufacturer, under a consumer affairs approach to his lawsuit, saying the guns are too easy to illegally convert them to fully automatic. Okay. So his attack, and I don't think you mean it, but there are people and politicians, I give you this present example, who is trying to ban the sale of Glocks, arguably the most popular handgun currently in America, in the state of New Jersey, because they can be unlawfully converted to full auto, right? So they're, when we talk about assault weapons, that is a very loaded term. It's a very triggering term. I'm not going to put you on the spot and say define an assault weapon. And the reason is you're probably going to struggle with it. Okay. The concept that something is full auto, that's highly regulated in America under National Firearms Act. Okay. Super regulated. These guns, you can't purchase a new one beyond 1986. Okay. When the Hughes amendment was passed, or Hughes Act rather. So it's taking full auto guns and made them thousands and thousands. A cheap Uzi is $5-6 grand. My point is this: what we have right now, generally speaking, are semi-automatic weapons. The hard part about restricting that is a number of things, but you have the Heller decision, okay, in DC, that weapons that are in common use and practical, okay, they can't be banned. And if you look at the Second Amendment, which people say, well, it's for well-regulated militia. True, But how do you form the militia, Brian? If you're activated, okay, or I say you're activated, you're not activated. You need to join the militia. Do you want a bolt action rifle, or do you want the most high capacity assault weapon that you can get your hands on?
I don't want everyday people having high capacity assault weapons, but I guess it goes back to my original question that I asked you, which is this. Obviously, you're against an assault weapons ban from what I'm hearing from you. We agree to disagree on that.
Well,
You
it'd
said,
have to be defined before I could even make an opinion on it. What
well,
is
I mean,
assault?
in the biggest mass shootings in this country, right here in Las Vegas, where 61 people were killed, in so many of these mass shootings, like Sandy Hook, like the shooting in Buffalo, where the choice always seems to be an AR-15. And without getting into the weeds on what an assault weapon is or not, I always go back to my original question, without getting into the weeds, which is solutions, right? You're against an assault weapons ban unless it's defined. I understand. And you talked about, listen, hardening our schools, locking doors, and having windows that you can't shoot through. Okay. I don't think that would solve a lot of issues, but it's not like I have a huge problem with that either. What should we do as a country? We both agree we have a major problem in this country with all the gun violence. What do we do? Yeah. I mean, that's really the core issue here that I try to talk to people, whether I agree or disagree with them. What do we do as a society? I don't hear a lot of good things coming from the right when it comes to this. If you want to arm security guards in schools, guess what? Don't have a problem with that either. I don't think every teacher should be armed, but that's not going to solve the issues of all the gun violence in Chicago, what's going on in malls across the country and in large gatherings and concerts. So what do we do? What do we do?
Well, what I think, right, my opinion is I think if you want to go bang for your buck, it's not reducing rights. And let's say you even did it successfully. Let's say you banned semi-automatics, and let's say Australia, like, they turned them in. I don't think it would happen. But even if you did, I don't think that necessarily is the root cause here. I am big on society. You hear the right is, they're going to use the buzzword mental health. Okay. Yes, the country has changed the way it deals with mental health. We don't institutionalize as much. And there was a lot of freedoms, there's a lot of Fourth Amendment issues there. There's a lot to it, right? But I think what they may be trying to say, or at least my own observations, we have a major societal issue.
Can I talk about that? I'm sorry to interrupt, but you brought up mental health, which I agree with you on. Again, here's my criticism. Multiple bills that are attempted to be passed by Democrats, including what Joe Biden tried, I think it was 8 months ago, allocating more funds to help those that are mentally ill, and Republicans always seem to, for lack of a better term, shoot it down. They don't want to put money into helping those that are mentally ill. We could be talking about just basic health care and people with mental issues. And Donald Trump has concepts of a plan. So I don't disagree with you. I think we could all agree, though, if you kill an innocent person or attempt to kill an innocent person, you're probably very mentally ill. We don't want you to get your hands on guns. Then why don't Republicans approve some of these bills that'll allocate funds to help people that are mentally ill? Donald Trump doesn't even have a health care plan in place. I hear bitching and moaning, not necessarily from you, but from many MAGA Republicans about Obamacare, yet he's had 9 years to come up with a health care plan. So if Republicans are serious about mental illness, which I agree with you is a big problem in this country, then why don't they do something about it? They never pass bills with Democrats to help people that need health care, that are having issues with mental illness. So when Republicans say, well, this is a mental illness problem, then why don't Republicans do something about it? Democrats they try to pass bills in the legislature every single year to help people that are mentally ill. Republicans always shoot it down.
I think I don't know every bill. I've barely read in entirety any in my life. Why? Because they're massive. So there are some Republicans who will default vote down anything that threatens the Second Amendment. Some call that good policy. Some want to see a little bit more. The word common sense is attached, which is pretty powerful as far as marketing, right? But there's also a history on both sides of filling bills have beautiful titles and are flaunted on a solution to usually a very emotional problem, that are filled with pork, filled with things that people don't want, and they don't want to pass and get 10 negative things for one feel good measure. So and that's not me criticizing any particular bill. That's just a mentality. And if you really want to watch it, I don't know the effects of it, but Elon Musk and company are talking about their AI engines, which are going to be able to read through massive bills, which by both sides are largely copy and pastes of things that sometimes take 10, 20, 30 years to get rammed through.
I agree with you
look
that,
for that. Look for a change. Look for a change, Brian.
Well, in a lot of bills, there might be some pork in a lot of those bills that some people might not agree with. But I would also say that something put in place is better than nothing. And when it comes to mental health, we're talking about healthcare. Mental health is a part of health care. And Donald Trump, again, I'm repeating myself, has had 9 years to come up with a replacement plan, and he still has concepts of a plan. If the Republicans are serious about health care for all and easable access health care and affordable health care for all, where is their plan? He was president for 4 years. I've heard complaints every day. I hear about Obamacare, which, by the way, 20 million Americans plus are on right now. It's not perfect. Our healthcare system is far from perfect. I'd be the first person to agree with everybody on that. But if the main core issue with gun violence in this country, which is at all-time highs, is we're not helping the mentally ill, which I think is a huge part of it, no doubt, where is the replacement plan? I'm not trying to put you on the spot here. I just think it's a fair question to ask,
I don't have that answer, and you have a very good question. So, if he has an excellent, awesome plan, he's not selling it well enough that a radio guy and a journalist.
He's not giving out the plan.
Right.
Forget about even selling it. It'd be one thing if he was trying to sell a bad plan. At least I'd say it's a plan. He doesn't have any plan. He's asked time and time again. Walker just asked him. He said it again. He has concepts of a plan. Is this a serious lawmaker? I don't think Donald Trump is. But I mean, like,
he's not supposed to be a lawmaker, but yeah.
I mean, the president of the United States helps put certain laws in place or bills or whatever you would.
Yeah, I'd say guide the country, but go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at least if somebody comes up with something, whether I agree or not, I say at least he's trying. All Donald Trump would need to do is for several hours sit with some of his serious advisors, if he has any, and come up with something. Concepts of a plan. Mr. President, what are we going to do about gun control? Well, I think it's mental illness. Okay. What are you going to do about that? Well, I have concepts of a plan. When you were in high school and your teacher asked for your homework and you said, I have concepts of my homework being done, the teacher would laugh at you. That's why I laugh at Donald Trump. He has concepts of a plan. How could you complain on one aspect about a Democrat policy, but have no plan to fix it? I mean, I don't understand that mentality with Republicans. Obamacare, it sucks. It's terrible. It's this, it's that. But the guy I voted for doesn't have a replacement plan, though. Then why are you complaining about it? I mean, I don't know. That's my train of thought, Mark. I don't know what else. That's my train.
I don't know the depth of his plan, his concept of a plan. I don't know it. Okay. Which might be problematic. Maybe that's a limiting fact on my interest. Okay.
Right.
Or maybe it's also a problem with him, completing it or marketing it. I'm not sure, but,
I hear you.
I would just, as a general concept, though, I'd say this, which is kind of, I think, refreshing, is when he puts these things out to me, I've followed him. I've been all over the country following him. He seems to be pretty open about it, and in this case, perhaps the openness is very frustrating and concerning, right? Perhaps it is. Perhaps he's not lying and blowing smoke up you and saying, I got it. It's all going to work out, Brian. Don't worry. I got this beautiful master plan. He might be being straight up and say, I got a concept. I don't know. But the reason I say this is because when he was in the White House, he would televise his important meetings. The one which just never leaves my mind was after the Las Vegas massacre, and he had that open meeting with major players in the government, and he even said things that, with my Second Amendment opinion, I was very concerned. We're going to ban bump stocks. We have to do it. It turns out that that's even unconstitutional. Okay.
And then he went and he saw the leader of the NRA, who no longer is the leader, who stole from the NRA, and he walked back the bump stock thing. And you know more about guns than I do.
Well,
but
I do, and I don't know the exact walk back, but I'm inclined.
Well, he's against it now. He's against banning bump stocks, and he met with the leader. So he didn't spend a lot of time with the victims' families after that Las Vegas shooting. He did fly out here, and he spent an hour in a hospital. He spent more time speaking to the leader of the NRA at that time than he did victims of the October 1 shooting. And after that meeting, because the reason why they had that meeting is Trump was speaking a tough game about bump stocks. By the way, as you know, anybody at home can make their own bump stock. That's not going to change much of anything.
Well, he did ban them, and it was unconstitutional.
Right. And then he walked that back, and he's changed his opinion on that now. And he met with.
Well, that would make sense if it's unconstitutional. I would hope that regardless of party, okay, that I would have an executive in the White House that doesn't support unconstitutional acts, right?
Yeah.
So that's generally, we can say, hey, you threw an error, okay, but then he still doesn't go after some field. He thought that was a solution, and he was wrong, in my opinion. And it was also unconstitutional.
Perhaps, but again, going back to, you talk about society, and so many of these Republicans in their ads are shooting guns. Many of these Republicans, or at least some of them, Christmas pics with members of their family that are 3 years old holding weapons. I think these are very sick people and very insensitive people. And I don't want to take anybody's right away. You, of anybody, you have should have the more rights than anybody else as far as, the Second Amendment. You risked your life for this country. Everyone should have the right.
I disagree. I would love my neighbors.
Well, everybody should have the right. Maybe I phrased that wrong. Everybody should have the right, as long as you're not a felon and it's not illegal, to defend yourself and purchase weapons. So maybe I phrased that wrong. But in the same aspect, well-regulated militia, I have a problem with an 18-year-old that has never learned how to fire a weapon, no training, might be mentally deranged, no comprehensive background check, buying a weapon, purchasing. Well, I have a problem in some states where you can actually sell a weapon to somebody else, not even knowing anything about that person, and just sell them a weapon, not knowing whether they're a criminal, not knowing whether they're a felon. In some states, you can do that. We need comprehensive background checks. 80% of the country agrees, but I think I've kept you on way past your bedtime, so to speak. We've been on for a while. It's a really good conversation, Mark. I really do appreciate you coming on. I got to take some phone calls, but I want to give you the opportunity again to talk about your space that you do every Tuesday and how people can follow you on social media, if you can do that.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
Loved coming on. It was a great convo. I appreciate it. So you guys can follow me on X, right? Formerly Twitter, at Mark Naughtom 9. It's right there. And I do host a weekly space called Trump Tuesday. It's all things social, legal, and political about Trump. We bring on big guests, okay, Trump related people, and we dissect it. And the audience is largely pro-Trump, but and so are my hosts. But I really like to say that it's social, legal, political. Love the dialogue. Come in. We'll give you a mic at some point, and opine, and whatever you want to do. We like live discussion. So
I got to do one of those again one of these days. I got to do it. I know I have a lot of fans in some of your spaces, so I got to do one of those again down the road. Mark, in all seriousness, thanks so much for coming on, man. Really appreciate it. Your friend David Pollack comes on a lot. He's a great guy, and always appreciate the conversation. Mark Naughton, everybody, thanks for your time, my friend. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Have a good one.
All right, you too. All right, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. So here's what we're going to do next. We're going to take some phone calls on that conversation. We just spoke to Mark Naughton, independent journalist, ground truth reporter for the Kyle Seraphin Show. Obviously, we disagree on a lot. I challenged him on a lot. Your thoughts coming up next. The number to call again, 702-221-7283. So my producer is telling me that I shouldn't take a break because we have a lot of people waiting on hold. So maybe we should just go straight to the phone calls. Maybe I'll do that, and I'll listen to my producer for once in my life. All right, let's go straight to the phone calls. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Ray. Ray is first up on PTL. What's up, Ray?
Hey, Brian, it's Ray again. About this gun deal, Matt Gaetz in there, too. This is going to blow your mind. I was in the military right after Korea. Telling my age now. I had extensive training with weapons. Now, later on in life, I lived in Fort Lauderdale and did extensive sailboating out in the Bahamas, way offshore. Somebody asked, why have a weapon? Well, I legally purchased a converted AR-15 to carry on my boat.
Yeah.
That's a machine gun because there was a lot of bad crap going on out there. Now, I had to go through extensive for Sheriff Nick Navarro fingerprinting and check my background. Then it went to Stephen Higgins on the ATF. Anybody that is a gun guy knows Stephen Higgins back in Ruby Ridge and that time. My solution to the problem is anybody that buys a gun should have to go through what I did.
Well, of course. Listen, I completely 100% agree with you. And the point I always bring up, and I know it's a right, it's a privilege to drive a car. I get that. But a car, you need to be safe. You need to learn how to drive a vehicle safely. We need to check your health, your eyesight, you name it. But yet, when it comes to guns, oh, no, go ahead. No problem. Thank you for the call, sir, and your service. 702-221-7283. Let's go to JD. JD is next up on PTL. Hello, JD.
Yeah, hi, Brian. And, today's comments on Tulsi Gabbard and RFK and Kash Patel, you stated outrightly that Tulsi Gabbard is a Russian asset.
I believe she is, yeah.
How can you make that?
Sure.
How can you make that statement? What's the proof?
Sure. So, first of all, Tulsi Gabbard, like Donald Trump, failed to call out Vladimir Putin for anything. In fact, when she is asked, like when Donald Trump is asked, who do you want to win this war in the Ukraine? If you're not willing to answer that question and say we want Ukraine, our allies, to win after they were invaded by an evil, murderous dictator, then I think most people would consider that person an asset to Russia. Number two, do you remember after 9/11, when we had terrorists across the country, including the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, celebrating and jumping up? Well, guess what? After it was announced that Tulsi Gabbard was picked by Donald Trump, there's video evidence that when the Kremlin and Russians learned about this, they were doing the same types of celebrating. So you have somebody that is not willing to call out Vladimir Putin for anything, by the way, the war atrocities, you name it, the war crimes, you name it. They're actually praising Vladimir Putin the way Donald Trump does, the way Donald Trump coddles him every day, sending him COVID test kits during COVID, right? And you have a woman who also has cozied up to Assad. Now, Republicans, even MAGA Republicans on Capitol Hill, have said that has raised serious concerns, and they want to ask her about that. She has never called out Assad, who was an evil, murderous dictator. Thank God I say was. And guess who brought Assad in and protected him and his family? Guess, JD, the Russians. Yes, that's right. Vladimir Putin. So I stand by everything I've said about Tulsi Gabbard. There's plenty of evidence to back up everything that I just said.
Well,
she is unqualified.
let me just say,
she is unqualified for the position, and she is dangerous. Go ahead.
Let me say something else. She's a colonel in the Reserve National Guard and controls the National Guard of 2 states.
Which doesn't take away anything that I just said, but go ahead.
Well, yeah, but why wouldn't she be investigated by the Army if she was an asset, a dangerous, treasonous asset?
Well,
there'd be some kind of speculation or investigation.
Interesting you brought that up. Interesting you brought that up because she was actually on a flight list. If you can look that up, if you don't believe me,
I know the whole story about her and her husband.
Okay, so it's not like she hasn't been investigated, and it's not like there aren't a ton of concerns. And by the way, she won't talk about Assad now. She won't even bring up his name when asked about it. So yes, I'm not the only person that has these concerns. I know you might think that only me or only lefties might think that way. I'm not a lefty.
No.
Okay, then I'm misjudging you, but I'm telling you that there are a lot of Republicans and even MAGA Republicans on Capitol Hill that have serious concerns with her.
I would think that the senators, Democrats who are in charge of the chairs, and Republicans who are the next in line on the foreign affairs committees would know about any of this.
Some of them do.
When she comes up for confirmation, then maybe we'll get an up or down vote.
Well, I hope that they do that. But you mentioned
that precise issue.
You mentioned a couple other people, and I didn't bring up Kash Patel today. I think you did, but I'm happy to talk about Kash Patel with you. But I look at a guy like a Pete Hegseth, a man who is a despicable human being, who has been accused allegedly of rape, and I understand that.
I heard it.
I know.
I heard it.
So you dismiss all that stuff? He openly admits.
No,
that
I didn't. I only have so much time. You have mentioned Patel. You know, he was
Not
a
today.
federal prosecutor in the U.S.
Right,
Department of Justice.
and Pete Hegseth also served this country as well. Just because you're an attorney, there are millions of attorneys in this country, doesn't mean you're qualified to run the FBI. Kash Patel, well, first of all the guy cares about is money. He's a grifter, selling his boots and his shirts. He's talked about going after people like me, going after members of the media that are not willing to say that Donald Trump won the 2020 election. How do we know this? Because he said it in a podcast. He wants to shut down the FBI headquarters and turn it into a museum. And you think that's the guy that should be running the FBI, who's only going to go after Donald Trump's enemies, including members of the media?
He just wants, he's not going to shut down the FBI if he becomes the director. He just wants to maybe move some of the FBI agents in the field.
Well, he said he was going to turn that very building. He said he was going to turn that very building into a museum. So we shouldn't take him for his word.
Instead of keeping them all in Washington, D.C.
Should we go after? Should we be going after members of the media that are not willing to say that Trump won the 2020 election? Because Kash Patel wants to do that. He said.
Of course not.
Okay, well, okay, I agree with you.
We all know that there's a lot of venting and a lot of
venting.
Characters.
So
on
you're
both sides that talk out of both sides of their mouth.
Okay, so can you give me an example of a Democrat that's a high member of office in the Joe Biden administration that said he wants to arrest people for not agreeing with them?
I would think Adam Schiff might fall in that category.
Adam Schiff has never said he wanted to arrest Republicans because they might not agree with him on an election result. So that is completely false. Can you give me an example of a Democrat that has said the enemy within, let's go after and arrest people, either civil suits or arrest criminal charges, if they're not willing to say that Donald Trump won the 2020 election? That's what Kash Patel said 3 months ago.
How long are we going to keep milking that 2020 election cow?
You're the one,
it's over.
JD, you're the one who just brought up Kash Patel. And I'm giving you examples of things Kash Patel said. By the way, it was Patel that brought it up 3 months ago on a podcast. I'm just reiterating the things he said he wants to do if he's in charge, in this case, the FBI. He said himself 3 months ago that he wants to go after members of the media that are not willing to say that Trump won and talk about the 2020 fraud. And there was no fraud that could have changed the outcome of the election. I'm only bringing this up because you don't seem to have a problem with that.
No, I do. If that's true,
it is, JD. I'm not making it up.
I think his main beef with the media is when he worked with Nunes on diffusing and completely destroying the Russian collusion with Mueller investigation. He was intimately involved in that, and he found out all the things that the Democrats are trying to do that they manufactured in the Russian collusion with Trump during the campaign in 2016 and after he was elected.
All right, so let's talk about that.
I'm happy all of it turned out to be totally baloney.
Okay, so first of all, that's not true. There's many people in that Mueller report that would say that there are multiple examples of obstruction, and even Mueller under oath said that as well. So I would disagree with your characterization, number one. Number two, you talked about you have a problem with people that manufacture things, okay? Let's talk about that for a moment. When the man who you supported and voted for manufactured a claim that the election was stolen, did you have a problem with that? Did you have a problem with the 8 investigations into Benghazi when Hillary Clinton was accused of crimes and Republicans?
You want to stay on one question at a time?
Okay. Do you have a problem with Republicans?
You started off with the 2020 election.
Sure. Do you have a problem with that manufacturing, as you pointed out? Were you crying to high heaven?
Well, the full spectrum of the election is not what Trump says as far as being cheating is what have you. The things that happened prior to the election with the Pennsylvania legislature, with the Supreme Court in Wisconsin, how they changed the rules, how they changed the election law.
Said the election was stolen and the Democrats cheated. That is a manufactured statement. You don't have a problem with that statement?
He's speaking in broad terms that you and I don't understand.
No. He's speaking. No. I understand
all the things that were done.
I understand
all the things that were done pre-election.
I understand it very clearly, and I'll explain it to you. And if you disagree, that's fine. I understand it very clearly, and I'm going to speak in truths here very clearly. If Donald Trump loses, the election was rigged. If Donald Trump wins, we don't have to have the conversation of election integrity and everything went well. It's very simple, JD. He loses, it's rigged and they cheated. He wins, everything worked out great. Why is that so hard for you to admit?
Well, there were so many irregularities regarding to the drop boxes. How about Zuckerberg? $419 million into the inner city.
Not true.
To get the vote out.
There's no. Oh, really? Did you have a problem with Elon Musk giving $1 million to people to register to vote for Donald Trump? I didn't hear you complaining about that. You want to talk about Mark Zuckerberg and you laugh? Did you have a problem with Elon Musk weeks before the election?
Yes, I did. I thought it was stupid.
Okay. Well, so that's just stupid, but you don't want to bring that up. But when it comes to Zuckerberg,
you brought it up. I can't.
Because I'm bringing up your hypocrisy. That's why, JD.
Before I forget, where's Meathead? Where's Chris Wynn? I miss him.
Well, I don't know where Chris is. You could give him a call and you could ask him, my friend. I appreciate the call.
You don't
JD.
have him on your show?
I appreciate the call, JT. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. So let's talk about Mark Zuckerberg. He gave $419 million to inner city youth. I don't know whatever JD was bringing up. But when it comes to Elon Musk and $1 million, millions of dollars, giving people $1 million to vote for Donald Trump. Oh, well, that was stupid. But let's move on. Let's talk about something else. He has a problem with people manufacturing issues and problems and lies. Okay, that's the entire Republican Party today. They manufacture stuff about drag queen reading, like the sky is falling. They manufacture stuff about trans women going into women's bathrooms. They're all going to assault you. They manufacture things about illegals. They make it sound like every person in this country that's illegal is going to rape your children and kill your family. The entire Republican Party manufactures things. They want to blame Joe Biden for all of their problems, for their hangnail. Forget about the war in the Middle East. Forget about the war in the Ukraine. Inflation up all over the world. But let's manufacture, to use JD's terms, that it's all Joe Biden's fault. They want to manufacture everything. The entire Republican Party is the manufactured party. They want to manufacture the fact that Joe Biden has committed crimes and he's a war criminal. They want to manufacture the fact that all the problems in the world are all Joe Biden's fault. But then when Donald Trump takes office, let's blame George Soros. Yeah, okay. The man who manufactures $3 Bibles in China and sells them for $60 here. Yeah, okay, that guy. Yeah, all right, JD. 702-221-7283 is the place to be right now if you want to call in. Let's go to Debbie. Debbie is next up on PTL. What's up, Debbie?
Hi, Brian. It gets me that those Trump megas just don't see it, and they see all the wrong with the Democrats. They're so hypocritical of what they stand for. And I'm just going to sit back, eat my popcorn, and watch everything that's going to happen with Trump.
I will. There's somebody. There's so
much in denial about it.
They are. There's people on social media saying no wars under Donald Trump. Geez, I remember a global pandemic though, when Trump left office, where we were losing 3,000 to 5,000 people a day. And Donald Trump said 15 cases down to 0. It's going to be gone by Easter. We had our own war throughout the world. And in the United States of America, where we're one of the richest countries in the world per capita, we had one of the highest death rates under Donald Trump. But hey, there were no wars throughout the world because you want to blame Joe Biden for what's been going on in the Middle East for decades and what happened with Vladimir Putin invading a country, our allies. They want to blame Joe Biden for that. But when it comes to the coronavirus and when it comes to a human manufactured virus in China, under Donald Trump, I guess President Xi didn't have a problem with that, lying to the world and to Donald Trump about that.
But not only that, Brian.
I'm listening. Go ahead.
Not only that, Brian, but doesn't this country see, even with Canada, what's happening over there, that they're already going to get rid of their prime minister because he's chumming up with Donald?
Yeah. Oh, you're right. You're right. I agree. It's atrocious.
And look at Mexico already. The president over there, she already said this is not going to help Mexico.
No, you're right.
With his
it's going to hurt Mexico. It's going to be a terrible for the economy, these 25% tariffs. And it is interesting because I get the same from so many of you MAGA buffoons on the right. Oh, Brian, you have Trump derangement syndrome. You have TDS. Let me be very clear. You have TFS, Trump fellatio syndrome. When you are complicit and you can't seem to separate fact from fiction, you have TFS. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Jason. Jason is next up on PTL. Hey, Jason, what's going on, man?
First of all, I hope you're doing well. Merry Christmas.
Thank
I just
you,
want to say
Jason.
that to you first.
You too. Thank you.
Now, I just need to give you 5 points. Please don't interrupt, because then I want to hear your opinion after.
Okay.
Number one, when he kept on saying it's not constitutional. Project 2025, not constitutional. That's number one. Number two, when he kept on saying militia, I'm scared. Like I don't fear, but I'm just letting you know, if you have militias all over, then this 1861 could come back to haunt us, which means it's the Civil War, because there's no way we're going to stand around and let these MAGAs run all over us. Number three, I was watching last night. I think Joe Biden should definitely put up a felon can't be a president, executive order, and make Trump overturn it. A president can't be a felony. You can't do all the things that Project 2025 want to do. Put those all in executive order to make Trump overturn them.
Yeah.
And last but not least, and this is where we're going to disagree, and I'm really sorry because there's a lot of things I like when you speak, but you were saying about trans. Now, let me just let you know one thing. The African-American community is very religious, and they are against trans. And if you go to the island
What do you mean?
Jamaica,
Hold on. What do you mean you're against trans? Be specific. What are you against?
No, you're not. It's the Bible says it.
Don't care what it says in a book. Don't care what it says in a
No,
book.
because you're saying, hold on, listen to me very carefully, because you're saying God made a mistake.
What?
God don't make mistakes.
What do you mean?
When
I
you
said
say
I never talked about God on the show.
Listen to when you say that you're a woman and you're in a man's body, you're saying God made a mistake. And at least
I never said that.
70,
I never brought up God.
I'm saying that you're not listening to me.
I am listening to you.
Trying to explain.
You're talking about
I'm
the
talking
Bible.
About religion.
I know.
I'm talking about religion.
And
I'm talking about the black community.
Okay, listen
I'm
to
talking
me,
about
Jason.
if you say somebody's a trans, you're telling the black community that God made a mistake.
Jason.
And that's all I'm saying.
Okay,
and I'll listen to your opinion.
Okay, I stay on the line. Okay, Jason. And he doesn't stay on the line because he doesn't want to have a conversation. Boy, it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating when somebody says something that I disagree with and I want to respond and keep them on the line and they hang up. Jason, I'd appreciate it next time when you make your points, with all due respect, don't hang up the phone. And I was listening to you. You're bringing up religion when it comes to trans people. I'm not bringing up religion, and I never have. Now, that's your opinion. Let me be very clear. My opinion has nothing to do with the Bible. I could care less what somebody wrote in a book. I don't care what the Bible says. That's me. I'm not a Bible thumper, number one. I do believe there is a God. I'm not an atheist. I don't run my life every day thinking about God. Here's what I do know. I don't care whether you're transgender or not. You do. I don't care what bathroom somebody goes into. You do. I don't care what it says in the Bible. You do. I don't care what your religion is. You do. I don't care what somebody believes with their religion. Don't force it on other people. If you're so offended that a trans woman goes into a bathroom that is a female bathroom to urinate and then leave, then that's your problem, not theirs. Then I think you're an idiot. Can I be any more clear? And if you want to preach the Bible all day, something I think many people, when they talk about Jesus Christ, talks about is not judging other people. Not judging other people based on sexuality, not judging other people based on how much money they have, and not judging other people because of what is between their legs. I'm pretty sure it says something about that in Christianity, yet how many Christians in society think that is a sin to be gay? So please don't preach to me, Jason, with all due respect, about the Bible. I could give 2 F's what it says in the Bible. I don't care. You know what I care about? Treating everybody as equals, treating people with respect. Whether you think it's a he or a she, I will call them what they want to be called, because you know what? I will treat them with respect because it doesn't affect me. Now, if we're talking about trans people on the playing field, that's unfair, and that's a different conversation. I don't care what bathrooms people use if they're trans. It doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect you, and there's no evidence that it would. I don't care what it says in the Bible, period. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Raymond. Raymond is next up on PTL. Raymond, what's going on?
Yeah, I want to talk to you about the president and his agenda and civics. First of all, the president is an administrator who comes to office with policy or agendas or concepts, and it is the House and the Senate that are the legislators. They create and debate the laws, which is the order that President Biden had. He didn't come ordering what was going to happen. He came with the policy concepts and an agenda, and it was handed over to the Senate and the House, and that's the way that government works. The problem is that the Senate and the House and President Trump are all bought. And that's all I had to say. Just
Well,
want America to know.
I don't disagree with you, sir. If you look at Donald Trump and you look at how much money he had net worth when he came into office, and these morons on the far right, oh, he didn't accept his salary. The guy made hundreds of millions of dollars when he was in office, just from donations from, people like JD who call into this show. And when you look at the wealth of the people around him, Jared Kushner receiving a $2.1 billion check from the Saudis. You think he would have received that check if he wasn't in Donald Trump's administration and he wasn't his son-in-law? How about Donald Trump's daughter, Ivanka Trump, who received an upwards of $600 million in trademarks from China? So you're absolutely right, sir. But again, so many of these Trumpers have the blinders on. He didn't accept that $400,000 a year salary as president. Oh, yeah, you're right. He didn't. Look at all the money he made when he was in office, and look at his net worth now. Look at the crap he sells. Look at the crap Melania sells, her stupid Christmas ornaments. The one who hates Christmas caught on audio saying that she hates Christmas so much that she's willing to take advantage of the stupid Trump supporters out there that are willing to spend $90 for a Christmas ornament that probably cost her 99 cents to make, that you can buy in the dollar store. 702-221-7283, the number to call. Let's go to Shelley. Shelley's next. What's up, Shelley?
Hey, Brian, I have a few things to say. When people call in talking about religion and they judge other people, if they're so religious, they need to go back and read who is the judgment person.
Mm-hmm.
It's not them.
Yeah.
Who judges?
Well, you're right. Yeah. So let me ask you this, and by the way, I agree with you.
Yeah.
All these right-wing evangelicals out there that are Bible thumpers, and I think they're all nuts, by the way.
Yeah.
They have no problem voting for a guy who seems to do a lot of things in the Bible that they say you shouldn't do. The infidelities, the defamation, judging others based on looks, the discrimination lawsuits he's faced in his life, the snake oil salesman that he is.
And that's the most appalling thing about it. They're supposed to be Christians and religious.
Yeah, they're not.
Everything, and that's the worst part about it.
I completely agree.
I don't understand why they are for him.
Shelley, I'm going to give you a perfect example of what exactly you are talking about, and I'm going to bring up Pete Hegseth again. You ready? Pete Hegseth has lived an entire life of cheating and lying and infidelity and drinking and you name it, right? He was allegedly accused of rape. I know there weren't any criminal charges filed, but he paid off a woman in an NDA. Okay. Lived a pretty despicable life, in my opinion, based on his history. Even his own mother once called him a woman abuser. All of a sudden, he found Jesus. Praise the Lord. I found Jesus Christ. I'm a different man now. Because these idiots hide behind their religion. They show their bigotry and their hatred towards the gay community, towards people who are transgender, and then they say, well, my religion tells me to be this way. No, you choose to be this way. I don't care what's in a book. I don't care what you claim your religion tells you to say or say. You're your own person. If you choose to judge people based on sexuality or skin color, you are a bigot. They hide behind their religion. And Pete Hegseth has now used Jesus Christ in the same way Donald Trump uses Jesus Christ. Remember when he held that Bible upside down and he tells the right-wing idiots out there that believe him, this Bible's my favorite book. And then in multiple interviews, he's asked to read one passage in the book and he won't read one passage. Why? Not because of the reasoning he gives, because, it's personal to me. No, because he's never read the book and he couldn't read a passage. But these dumb morons on the far right believe him when he says, you know what? It's my favorite book. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make them in China for $3 and sell them to you idiots for $70. 221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Kim. Kim is next on PTL. What's up, Kim?
Hi, how are you?
Hey, good. What's on your mind?
Okay, so couple of things. On your guest today, who showed up, talking about the ARs and all that stuff.
Yeah.
My feeling about it is, like you had said, who needs a big gun to protect themselves? If you're such a good shooter, a 9mm or a 360 or a 380 is all you need.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Now, going into this other conversations that you just had, if a woman did all these cheating, if it was a lawmaker or a political figure, they would crucify a woman.
Oh, you are so right. Kamala Harris, right? Kamala Harris is a perfect example. She allegedly, by the way, it hasn't even been proven, allegedly had a sexual relationship 30 years ago with a guy by the name of Willie Brown, and they call her a whore. They call her a slut. Meanwhile, the guy who's cheated on every wife he's ever had, he's never been faithful to a woman. He bragged about sexual assault. He's got 5 kids with 3 different women. His own ex-wife in a court deposition accused him of rape. But yet you want to talk about Kamala Harris allegedly having a relationship with Willie Brown 30 years ago? These people are the dumbest hypocrites in the world.
Yep. And of course, they want to talk, like you said, the Bible thumping. So again, it's okay for what? White men to cheat? And everyone's going to forgive them?
I found Jesus. They found Jesus.
Right.
Yeah.
They think that's their Jesus and that's okay, and they're going to be forgiven. So, but if it turns around and a woman does it, oh my God, they're going to be stoned.
Yeah, that's very true. It's very true. But you know what? Next time somebody does something wrong on the left, they should just say, "Hey, I found Jesus now." Oh, no problem. We'll let you be the second person in command, knowing our nuclear codes. No problem, sir. We believe you because you've been so honest and faithful your entire life. You found Jesus Christ. I mean, who told that guy to say that? Charlie Kirk probably told him to say that.
And Brian, your guest. You know how many times he said, "I don't know. I don't know."
Well,
I could have been a millionaire today.
You know what? I get these Republicans into a corner, and they won't answer my questions because they're not capable of it. But his role, he came out and said, "I'm a journalist. He needs to know the facts on both sides." And when you have a guest that says, "I don't know," that was disappointing. That was disappointing. I appreciate your call, Kim. Thank you so much. Let's go to David. David is next up on PTL. Hey, David, what's going on, man?
Yeah, well, not too bad. Hope you're going to have a good Yalda. That's coming up Saturday, I hear. Hey, I'm glad you're talking about the whether or not the followers are actual Christians themselves or whether they're just part of. I actually kind of think of them as organized crime. Years ago, I had a landlady who was an atheist, and she had all kind of literature hanging around her house. And among it, there were allegations that the confessionals were used for blackmail. So someone would come to pastor, and pastor would write down the confession, and then pass it on to a nearest blackmailer, and then all of a sudden the person was trapped into paying money into organized crime. And so whether or not the confessional has been used, have you seen that new movie called The Apprentice? About Donald Trump?
I did not. I've heard it's actually pretty good, and I have not seen it. But I will tell you this, in what you're speaking of, David, in what you're talking about, it's pretty simple that in society today, you can hide behind your religion. And in some cases, when you think of the clergy and all the children that so many in the clergy have molested over time, but you won't hear Republicans ever bring that up, right? All you heard from Rush Limbaugh was, you heard about transgenders and, what the threat they are in the gay community, but you never heard him talk about the clergy and the thousands of innocent children that have been molested from the clergy. Never heard of one story of any child that's been physically harmed in any way, shape, or form at a drag queen reading. But Republicans will talk about that 24/7. When it comes to the clergy, nothing. Silence. All right, let's go to Jack. Jack is next up on PTL. Hey, Jack, what's going on, man?
Hey, Brian, what's up, man?
How you doing?
Hey, just
I mean, like you said, hypocrites, just hypocrites, and especially this is why his base is, they'll make a case for anything that the Republican Party or Trump or anybody that he nominates. It's the same thing with Christians. They want to talk about Christ, but they don't want to act like the teaching. I don't believe in religion. But I've read the Old Testament. I've read the New Testament. I was a Catholic for 50 years, and never had read the Bible. So when you read the Bible, you see in there that the teachings of Christ, anyway, the character.
Yeah.
I mean, he's for the poor.
Right.
He's to feed, help the sick, help the downtrodden. He hated people that hawked, merchandise.
Wait, so you're saying Jesus didn't say you should sell the Bible for $60 and make it in China for $3? I'm shocked.
that should go up their butt sideways, but it doesn't because they're hypocrites.
Well, that's the thing, though. How many times do I say that on the show, my friend, that these people on the far right are hypocrites? They prove it every single day. Paul is next. Hey, Paul, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind, my friend?
Hey, man, I wasn't going to call in, but you're talking about the religion things. You're totally right. They're not Christians. They're Pharisees. They're the saint. Listen, Brian, these MAGA are the people that crucified Jesus in the name of God, because people that are decent in this country, people like Jesus that are decent people, they call them socialists and they call them libtards, and they always resort to violence. And don't forget, Brian, before they put him up there, he stood before Pontius Pilate.
Yeah.
And he says, do you want me to release Jesus or Barabbas, the insurrectionist?
Mm-hmm.
And on November 5th, in the United States of America, we chose Barabbas 2,000 years later again. This is who they've always been.
We did.
They're religious zealots.
Think about it. You're right, Paul. Think about if Pete Hegseth walked into your office, if you're the CEO of a company, and you asked him, well, what about the first wife you cheated on, the second wife you cheated on and had a baby with a coworker, the third wife you've cheated on, your drinking issues, the alleged...
She's not a Christian.
Yeah. What do you make of all that stuff? And the woman who alleges that you raped her? Well, it's all good now because I found Jesus. I mean, you would laugh in his face and say, get the hell out of my office. This is the guy who could have the nuclear codes.
Right. And the last thing I'll say, because I know you're almost out of time, is the thing that got me today is when Trump had that assassination attempt back in June, Kid Rock made this video where his veins are bulging out of his neck, where he's spitting, he's yelling, he's screaming, and he's like, if you come for Trump, you come for me.
Yeah.
And guess what he posted about innocent children being shot by a 14-year-old girl? Wow. Absolutely nothing.
Shocker.
It's all fake outrage. They're not pro-life. They only care about things that instigate their
Paul, you're right.
fear-mongering.
Paul, you're right. You're right. Nancy Mace didn't tweet about it. Donald Trump didn't tweet about it. They'd rather talk about trans women in bathrooms. Keith, I got about 1 minute for you, my friend. Go right ahead. You're next on PTL.
Hey, Brian. I've been watching you now for about a week or two, and I really like your show. You're doing good stuff.
Thank you.
I'm a Vietnam vet.
Thank you for your service.
And that guy you had on earlier, Mark Naughtom, I think was his name.
Yep.
He reminded me of a friend I have who was also a vet and who also voted for Trump because he doesn't have two brain cells between his ears.
Well, let me tell you this, my friend. Unfortunately,
I appreciate you, Brian.
Thank you.
I really do. I appreciate you.
Keith, I appreciate you and your service. You're a hero, and I hope you can call back and we could have a longer conversation. Unfortunately, I'm up against the clock here, but I wanted to get you in, Keith, and please call back, my friend. Thank you for your service. You're a hero. And I know you have more than two brain cells, which is also comforting. Anyway, for those of you that are interested to know, Ron Filipowski from Midas Touch is going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. For those of you that want to be more interactive, want to support what we do here, we run an independently owned radio show. We rely on people like you. So what can you do to help us? Subscribe to my YouTube page, which is free at PTL Radio Show. Go to my website, pushingthelimits.live, where we sell merchandise up there, shirts, hats, you name it, we sell it. And also there's a donate button there right on the front page. Whatever you can donate, we appreciate it. We also appreciate our good friends at Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Great promotions there, including the Pass the Puck contest, where you could win up to $500 in free slot play during a Vegas Golden Knights game. Also, ladies and gentlemen, today's Wednesday. You know what that means. If you earn 300 points, you get a free bottle of wine at Jackson's Bar and Grill. Man, they got so many great promotions there. You ways to win $50 in free slot play on Sundays as well. Check them out. Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo Jones. Great food, great atmosphere. I actually just learned that Jackson's is going to be catering one of the college basketball tournaments here coming up over the holidays. So that shows to how many bars in Vegas get to cater stuff like that's how great the food is over there. It's awesome. Check them out, Jackson's Bar and Grill. All right, folks. Thank you for the phone calls. I also thank Mark Naughtom for joining us. I'm sure he got roughed up on the chat, but that's okay. I appreciate Mark being a stand-up guy for coming on. People rough me up in his spaces, so, giveth and taketh. But I thought it was, at least we had a respectful conversation, which is good. Ron Filipowski from Midas Touch is going to be joining us on the show to start the show tomorrow. Appreciate all of you. Subscribe to my YouTube page. It's at PTL Radio Show. We will see you tomorrow, folks. Have a great day.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you